Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to yet another episode of the Mario and Chaos Show. I'm your co-host, Mario Mancini. I'm a former WWE wrestler and co-instructor at Paradise Alley Professional Wrestling, along with Paul Roma, Big Steve Tracy, and the man behind the glass for the Mario and Chaos Show, second-generation grappler, 2020-something inductee into the New England Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame, my brother for 36 years, Mr. Paul Perez. Seated to the bottom left of my screen for social distancing this week is a man who has accomplished everything from soup to nuts in the wrestling business. The emphasis on nuts. He is none other than the voice of the Mario and Chaos Show. He is the guardian of chaos. Big Daddy. Big Daddy, what's going on?
Well, episode 65, Mancini, season 2 of the Mario and Chaos podcast. Fans, we're on all social media platforms. We're on Facebook at the Mario and Chaos podcast. We're on YouTube now with the Mario and Chaos podcast. Obviously, audio and now video. We're on iHeart. We're on iTunes. We're on Stitcher. We're on Spreaker. And on episode 65, season 2, Mario, I'd like to introduce my brother. I was best man at his wedding. We go back like a recliner. The Jackmaster, John Diamond. Welcome to the Mario and Chaos Show. How you doing, brother?
Big Daddy, it's been a long time, but the Jackmaster is back.
Well, Diamond, welcome to the show. Now, to be in the company of Paul Perez, Mario Mancini, and now you, John, after not seeing you for so many years, it's unbelievable. We're going to peel back the onion, so to speak, with the Jackmaster. We have a lot of things to go through here on episode 65, season 2. After this, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, our producer, that would be Double P, Mr. Paul Perez, is headed down to Myrtle Beach. Perez, what's going on with the Mario and Chaos podcast?
2 weeks. Hiatus for 2 weeks. Sabbatical.
Hiatus.
Now, Perez, the fans always want to know about this because you have revealed that you no longer wear the lucha mask. What is going on down in Myrtle Beach that Double P is heading down south?
Have a home there, so I try to get there as much as I can, which isn't very often.
The guy's been a wrestler since he's 14. I would hope he's got a summer cottage.
As Mancini puts on his Iron Mike Sharp a forearm brace. Well, we wish you well, Perez. We will be on a couple-week hiatus. Mancini, before we get on to the Jackmaster, who has an illustrious career, I want you to address the elephant in the room. We're still in the middle of the pandemic. We start with opening phase 2 next week with the COVID, with the protests. I don't want to get too crazy. We don't like to get too political, but we're going to address certain times and current times, and I'll leave it up to WWE 84 to 92, Mario Mancini. Your reflections on the past week, Mario.
You know, if I had it my way and I was there, and I think I can speak for all of us right now on this show, I wish I was there. You know what? I would have clotheslined the guy right off of him. You know what I mean? Believe me. I smashed his head into the fucking ground and said, get off the guy. You know what I mean? But we weren't there. So it's very unfortunate. And everybody's expressing themselves, and you can only hope that everybody keeps expressing their opinions and their right to them peacefully. But because of that, COVID-19 has become a work. So, you know, moments before I just logged on, my daughter, Gigi, how many states? 14 states in Puerto Rico are on the rise.
Hi, ZZ!
On the rise. Okay.
That's not good news. I saw that, Mario.
The numbers are up, and it's only a matter of time. You know what I mean? They're ignoring it. They're going forward. I watched the news on purpose tonight because when this COVID thing was going on, the first thing they gave you were the numbers. They gave you the cases, the deaths, and hospitalizations. You don't see that anymore. They don't go near that. It's not mentioned anymore. So, for the lack of a better term, they have kayfabed COVID-19. So,
Mancini, that's the perfect term. The latest numbers that I got here at Chaos headquarters, and I want to bring in Diamond on this because he's living in a different world, in a different bubble down there. And Paul Perez will be able to speak to it when he comes back and we drop 66 in a few weeks. I want to speak to this. There's 4 million people roughly here in the Constitution state. There's been a little over 4,000 deaths. God rest their souls. And we've been affected by it personally at Paradise Alley Pro Wrestling with family members and people that we know. But if you look at the numbers, Mario, it's legitimate. It's there, but you think it's a work. You think it's kayfabe. Break it down by percentages. 4 million, 4,000. I have to agree with your thoughts there.
So, I just think they're sweeping it under the carpet, and I just think they're hoping it goes away. And I think they're just trying to prevent a worse depression that happened in the early 30s. So, I started saying this 3 weeks ago. It's like a war, okay? So you go into war and you go to fight something, some people are going to die. And that's the cost of it. So I guess, it's going into the front lines, trying to protect yourself as best you can, just like in a war, but there's going to be casualties. So I don't, unless the thing becomes so overwhelming, everybody has to run back into their homes. I don't know. As I say every day in my life, when people ask me questions that in depth that I really don't have the answer to, I go, they didn't teach me that in law school. So I don't know the risk. I'm not a pandemic guy or a doctor. I don't know, somebody's in a locked room going, by August 1st, there's going to be 240,000 people dead. You know what I mean? Because as it is right now, if we have like 6,000 more deaths, I think that'll be 116,000, and that'll be twice of what
well over 100,000. You're right about that, Mario.
That'll be twice of what we lost in Vietnam.
It's unbelievable. And I talked to Diamond about this because Diamond's down in Florida. He owns his own tattoo parlor, Bad As AZZ Tattoo. He's down in New Smyrna Beach, Florida. And Diamond, I want to bring you in on this because we talked about this over the last few days about how here in the metropolitan area, we're living in a bubble with the COVID-19. Can you pass along your experiences down there in Florida to us up here in the Northeast and what your experience down there during COVID, John?
Down here, I mean, thank God the gyms just opened back up. I was going crazy not being able to go to a gym. Down here, it's been like a work. It's unfortunate. My wife's in the medical field. They're laying people off. Nurses, doctors. She just got laid off because there's no one in the hospitals. Now the media is a work. I think the media is the problem with probably 90% of anything that's going on in the world. You take the media out of it, we got a whole different lifestyle. But down here, it's basically a work. It's sad that the elder people are catching it, more or less like the flu. I have a feeling that myself, my employees, we probably had it back in December. Each one of us got hit with the flu like there was no tomorrow. Didn't get out of bed for 2 days. But after that, gone, and it was like nothing ever, it was just like the regular flu. So it's unfortunate for the old people and those that have health conditions. But what's the answer? I mean, to me, being a business owner and seeing people lose their jobs and all that, I just don't see how you ever can just shut down an economy. I don't care if we're at war with 3 nations. You don't close up your doors and not feed your families and not be able to pay your rent, because every person that's telling you to stay home, whether it's the media, the government, someone, anyone on TV, a movie star, they're all getting paychecks. So they're telling you to stay home while they're getting a paycheck. So that creates a whole nother problem, because now I've had a few friends that have lost businesses, can't pay their mortgage. So now they're going through a whole nother set of problems. And I feel for them, because, you know, when you can't put food on the table, and then you got to think too, a lot of the other people who, you know, if we're going to call it as it is, a lot of the people who are saying stay home and they're getting public assistance. They're getting Social Security. My parents get Social Security. So they're getting a paycheck regardless, and it doesn't change their lifestyle. So even my parents, God bless them, I love them to death, when a lot of this stuff comes out, they're like on a whole nother planet, because it doesn't really affect them. It puts people in a whole different array of problems, and in different parts of the city. Like with New York City, I would say if you got a problem with New York City, block it off at the George Washington Bridge and quarantine them if you have to. But I'm from upstate New York, so we never liked all you New York City people.
Speaking of New York, John, I want to transition here, because Diamond is very, very outspoken. We're not going to get on to the politics here.
No.
Diamond's a little off the rails, but we're on episode 65, season 2 of the Mario and Chaos Show. Our special guest, ECW House of Hardcore graduate, the Jackmaster, John Diamond, trained by Johnny Rods. Okay. Oh yeah, John was trained by Johnny
right
Rods.
there.
Yep. And this
That's
is where
my
Mario
guy.
comes in. Mario,
That's
you know
my
what else
guy.
we have in common, Mario? The last time you saw John Diamond, you cocksucker, was at the 1999 NAWA Slam Jam, where you kayfabed me, you dogged me, you went and saw Bruno Sammartino, 84 to 92. My locker room was in the mob closet. I was with Diamond and DeVito that night, and you kayfabed me, Mancini.
Didn't even see you. Let me tell you something. I sat with Afa, Bundy, and Bruno all night. I didn't see you one time.
Well, here's the verification. It's live right now. We're going to be on YouTube. We're on audio. We're on video. Paul Perez as my witness. John Diamond.
Perez, we're on
I
live?
not?
No,
Was
we're not live.
I not? Well, we're live when we're taping it. John Diamond, the Jackmaster, if you will. Was I not a part of the NAWA Slam Jam as the commissioner for Bruno Sammartino, and then managed tough Tony DeVito against you that night at the Westchester County Civic Center?
I would have to say yes, you were. And if you can refresh everyone's memory, who won that night?
Well, I will say, Diamond, not only do you whip DeVito's ass, you whip my ass, too.
Need we say more?
That's the night that Mancini pulled off the greatest heel gimmick that he's ever done in his life. We talked about it last week when he went up against Bundy at the Slam Jam and pulled off an unbelievable Morocco heel performance of a lifetime, perhaps one of the best in his career.
Yep. And that was the same night, if I recall, a battle royal at the end of the night with Shane Douglas under the mask.
Correct. Shane Douglas came in as Tiger Mask under the mask.
Yes, he did.
With the ECW. He was the ECW heavyweight champion at the time.
He was.
He took the Godfather Tony Capone's belt that he won that night, and he took the ECW belt, if I'm not mistaken. I have the footage, and he was going to throw it in the trash.
Yes.
An unbelievable night that night.
And as we were getting ready to go to the match, everything was put out there, how it was going. At the very last second, Shane came up to me and he goes, "Steel Team." That's what he always called me, Steel Team, because of the Pittsburgh Steel Team with him. He goes, "You're one of the only vets here that I trust, so we're switching this up. You're not going out that early. I need you at the end." We did it on our own.
Well, John, that's right. Well, you were a part of, and he's back in AEW right now, former ECW, WWE legend. You were a part of Team Taz with the Pittsburgh Steel Team with Shane Douglas and Francine and Kimona, if I'm not mistaken, from ECW.
Well, first it started out, Team Taz. And then once that kind of ended with his whole feud that he had going on with Sabu, then it morphed into, we did the Pittsburgh Steel team, and at that time it was Shane, Francine, and us, and then they brought in Bam Bam came into it.
Now I want Mario to address this because you guys have a lot in common. Okay, not only did you graduate from the House of Hardcore, you were in the WWE camp twice. Okay, you trained with Taz and Perry Saturn, but I want to talk about your original trainer. I want to talk about Johnny Rodz because a personal close friend of Mario Mancini, and I would like you guys to exchange stories there about Rodz and his camp, Diamond.
Oh, I still talk to Rodz on Facebook. I think he's probably one of the best in shape 80-year-olds out there. Probably one of the most knowledgeable men I've ever met, and would work you in the ring like there was no tomorrow. And the thing about Rodz was, if you weren't technically sound, you didn't move on. If you couldn't do a rollover and do it perfect and get up, you never did anything other than a rollover until you got it. And the one quote, I just wrote him to this day that I've never forgotten, and I use it in all factions of life, is he would say, you don't know what you don't know until you know it. And I've never, at the time, I always wondered, I was like, this guy's crazy. What is he talking about? I don't know what I don't know until I know it. And as the career went on and in different factions of life, I picked up on what he, it just clicked to me. I was like, damn it, that's what Johnny meant, and it took a few years down the road, and then I got it. But every one of the guys that Johnny ever trained, you could tell in the ring how they hit the ropes, how they do their moves. Everything is on point.
Now, that's to my point. Now, Mauro, your experiences with Johnny when you were first in there in '84, when did you encounter Johnny Rodz? And have you been, because the one time I was down at Gleason's, I was with Diamond and DeVito. Have you ever been down to his place, Mauro, in your experiences when you first met Johnny in the WWF?
But no, my experience with Johnny, it wasn't good.
I can see that.
So I broke in July of '84, in July 31st, '84, and Johnny wasn't there. Whether he was in Puerto Rico or Vince sent him somewhere else, he came about 2 months later. And I walked into Poughkeepsie with the bag over my shoulder, the chew in my mouth, and JYD cracked a joke or something, and I started laughing. The rods got hot. He looked at SD and he said, who the fuck is that? And he said, oh, that's Mario Mancini. He goes, that's the kid. He goes, well, that fucking kid is walking in here with his bag over his shoulder, with his snuff in his mouth, laughing his ass off like he's been here for 15 years. And SD said, calm down. That's Altamar's guy. And that's Altamar's guy. So, Altamar was with The Office. So he goes, that Altamar trained him. That's Altamar's guy. And SD came up to me and said, look, right now you got some heat with Rodz. He said, sit in a corner and shut up. Keep your mouth shut. Don't laugh all night. Just don't laugh. Don't make a spectacle of yourself. Don't talk loud. Just mind your business and sit there because you need to get his respect. I said, okay. And the smile was wiped off my face, and I just sat there all night, and I talked to guys and everything, but it wasn't boisterous, or I wasn't laughing, and then slowly but surely, I went over and introduced myself to him, and slowly but surely over the next few months, we got to be friends, and then it was okay to laugh and joke, and you know what I mean? But, Johnny Rodz was a tough son of a bitch. You listen, and I don't mind saying it. Back then, you mess with Johnny Rodz, I mean, you'd be on the Jersey Turnpike in a hole somewhere. They're not going to find you.
That's definitely the truth.
That's the truth. You didn't mess with him. You didn't mess with him. So, you know, I did a card, an autograph show convention a couple of years ago in Freehold, New Jersey, and his table was right next to mine. And you know, we hugged each other. We hugged each other tight. And he goes, "Oh," I grabbed my face. He goes, "How you doing, kid?" I said, "Good, good." Because after, when Johnny left Vince, he ran shows in Sheepshead Bay, and I did shows for him in Sheepshead Bay. He booked me on the shows. So, you know, I was really close. One of the closest guys to me was S.D. Jones. He's the one that smartened me up to the business. Without him, I would have been dead. You know, they were in front of me
Especially
going,
back then, Mario, because remember now, and Diamond, and Perez already knows this, but remember now, Mario's story, he was the youngest grappler in the World Wrestling Federation at 18 years old in 1984. So when he was traveling around, he was traveling with men. Look at even Roma at the time was 25 years old. So while everybody else was getting it in, 30 in, Mancini was still a young man, and there were certain people that were looking out for him. So that's the difference. When we were in the business, guys, we were much older.
What really helped is when Schultz broke my nose, my second match.
How the hell did that help?
In Rhode Island, when Schultz broke my nose, and then 3 weeks later, when I was just about healed after surgery, I went to Hamilton, Ontario, and they put me with them on TV. And I guess they thought I was going to unlace my boots and run. And I said, "Fuck you, break it again."
Break it
I
again.
don't give a shit. So I think I gained some respect there. But SD took me and he smartened me up, because these guys were right in front of my face going, "Look, the Griazin Giazai, you know, with a Giazaber, you know, Jabroni, you know, I don't know what they're saying." So, you know, I drove SD crazy going down the road. I'm going, Hiazan, Niazale, Fiazan, Gertiazo, I drove him nuts like a little kid because I wanted to learn, so they wouldn't talk in front of my face anymore. But anyway, that time I was close to SD with the broads and everything, and traveling with him. He never told me his story. Who told me his story a couple years ago was Johnny Rods. So Rods trained SD, right? And he wasn't quite ready yet, almost. So Monsoon called Johnny, and he goes, "I'm short a guy." And he said, "I got you covered." So he brings SD, right? Ephraim Johns or something like that, right? So Monsoon goes, and SD's a skinny, scrawny guy at the time. So he goes, "Who the hell is this?" And he introduced SD to him, and Johnny goes, "That's okay. He's going to be all right." He goes, "This is what you bring me?" He goes, "Hey, you called me and said you needed somebody. So I brought him, special delivery." And Monsoon went, "That's your name. Your name is Special Delivery Jones. Your name is SD Jones."
Excellent story. Fans,
right,
this is what you get here on the Mario and Chaos show that you don't get on any other fucking podcast.
And I said, "John, I never knew that. I never knew that. I never knew that story." He goes, "Oh yeah. That's
so now, did you have any ins into the business, Mario? When you got in, like, did you know someone who was in, or relatives, or family, friends?
No, well, I got lucky. We all got lucky. You know what I mean? This is what happened. In the summer of '83, I just got done with my junior year of high school. So I'd get the second row on the floor in New Haven all the time. All right? Because I wanted to kill Morocco. That's another story. So, so Morocco would come out, and I'd go up to the steel barricade and screaming my ass off at him, right? So we're sitting there with my mother and father and my brother and sister, and Tony Altomar goes in the ring to be a referee. And my father stands up and goes, hey, Tony. And he looks at my mother and father, and he goes, "Hey, Ralph, Gloria, how you doing?" I go,
"Do the Altomar voice, Mancini. Imitate Altomar."
I go, "You know that guy?" He goes, yeah, that's Tony Altomare. That's the Stanford Stomper. We went to grammar school with him. So I followed him to Hartford. I followed him to New Haven. I followed him to the Garden. I followed him everywhere until he finally said, I'm opening up a wrestling school October of '83 at Quest in Orange. And I went to wrestling school from October of '83 until July of '84. I graduated high school June 20th of '84. I turned 18 on June 21st. I turned pro July 31st against Greg Valentine. But
we got something else in common right now.
That I was just going to say, there's another thing, Mario, and I'll cut you off all day. That's another thing you guys have in common. And I want to bring Diamond back in for this. Mancini, we're talking about Valentine. Now, Diamond, you also ran into Shawn Michaels and Greg the Hammer Valentine. Yep. And that's how you originally got introduced into the business. Am I correct about that?
You're right. You've done your homework. I was actually getting ready for a Mr. Western New York bodybuilding show. I owned a gym at the time. I wouldn't train at my own gym because everyone would bug you. And so I'm training in it was called Samson's Gym in Rochester, New York. It was the biggest meathead bodybuilding gym on the East Coast. And I was in there training early in the morning, and then all of a sudden someone tapped me on the shoulder. And they're like, hey, can we work in with you? And I turned around. It was Shawn Michaels and Valentine. And I was like, holy shit. I was like, because number one, I grew up in a really small hit town, Big Daddy, where I'm from. 800 people.
Hancock, New York, right?
Yeah, hillbillies. Being a pro wrestler was something so far-fetched, I didn't even know how you would even start to do it. So that was something mystical. It wasn't going to happen. So we worked out, and by the time we were done, Shawn Michaels goes, dude, you're bigger and stronger than we are. You should be doing this stuff. I started kind of laughing, and I was a big mark, too, at the time inside. I was like, I had the Road Warrior posters all over my room. And
Perez worked with the Road Warriors.
Yeah, that's another one. So then he gives me a card. He goes, no, you should call this number. And I was like, whatever. And I put it in my gym bag, got back, and about a month later, I'm cleaning out my drawers in my office at the gym, and there's that card. So I called it, and it was 3 hours away down to Brooklyn. So I made the drive down to Gleason's, and it was kind of scary because, like I said, I'm a little redneck hillbilly here, so we're pull up to Gleason's right out of the Rocky movie because I think they did film part of it there, and it's just a 3-story rundown building in the ghetto. So I walk in this first door, and everything's broken windows. I'm walking up 3 stores, and there's a big steel door. I'm like, what am I walking into, And I open it up, and there's like a security guard right at the door.
And a bouncer at the door.
Yeah. And I look in there, and it's just all these, like, I think at the time they had like 4 or 5 boxing rings and a wrestling ring. And they're all training hard. It's loud, and, it's all black guys, Puerto Ricans, everyone. I walk in, like you would see on the movies, I swear not, dead silence. Everyone stopped. I walked in, I was the only white dude. So this little owner comes up, and he was just like Burgess Meredith on Rocky. Comes up, yeah, his name was Ira Cohen. He was the owner, and I think that's where they got part of the skit for Rocky. He was the owner. So he comes up, can I help you? I said, yeah, I'm here to meet Johnny Rods. I got an interview. He goes, all right, kid. So I go and I have my interview with Johnny. He's like, we want you. I was like, all right. So I started training, did my thing. At the end, I'm walking out, and the Ira, Mr. Cohen, stops me. For some reason, he always liked me every time I'd come in. He goes, kid, you sure you want to do this? And I was like, yeah, I want to do this. He goes, all right, you're welcome anytime. If you need anything, come in. But I respected that man so much because every day I would come in, he would come up, say hi. But he could see how it was because as soon as I walked in, you could hear a pin drop.
Well, one thing about Gleason's and about Johnny Rodz in that whole area, it's just like Paradise Alley, and I can compare Gleason's and the concept of Paradise Alley from Paul Roma and Big Steve Perez and Mancini. That's what Gleason's is like.
Oh,
and Paradise Alley, like the movie. And if anybody knows anything about Rocky, Mario has been compared to Rocky Balboa of the WWF jobbers, not only the top 3 in World Wrestling Entertainment, but the top 10 of all time. So the correlation between Paradise Alley, the movie, and what they're doing now, Mancini's background, what you went through, and the all-inclusivity of Johnny Rodz' school on Paradise Alley, and it doesn't matter what race, color, creed, and culture, even back to then, that's what we're all about, and that's what the pro wrestling business is all about. And I can attribute Rocky, as you're talking, all along, I'm thinking of Mario, because that's what he's been compared to in this business. And it had him and Perez, he and Perez stuck around in the independent scene like we were in the late 90s into the early 2000s. I couldn't imagine what their career would have been, because Diamond, you would have fit right in with the 80s, and Mario can attest to that.
Yeah, I've always said that. Like I said, I never had anyone I didn't know anyone who wrestled. I didn't have any relatives who wrestled. I knew no one. And then once I got in the business and seeing how a lot of people kind of do a lot better if they have that push or that family member, I didn't have that. So my whole goal was, if I could ever wrestle in Madison Square Garden or work for WWE one time, I met my goal, beyond the titles and everything else. And even that got accomplished. So, I know there was a lot of shortcomings, but I didn't have any help.
Well, I want to speak to that, John. And I want to speak to that, Diamond. You've held over 35 national and regional titles, okay, probably the most in the Northeast New England area.
Yeah.
You've had, we know who you've been trained by. I want to hear your experiences now twice. Now, Mario's been to New York. It's well documented. Paul Perez was brought to New York by Mario. We know their history of Paradise Alley. You were in the camp twice for the WWE.
Yep.
What the fuck happened, Diamond? You were already in ECW, House of Hardcore, trained with Taz, Shane Douglas, Johnny Rodz. What happened in the 2 camps? That's what
John, before you go into what happened in the 2 camps, when you were in the camps either time, was John Laurinaitis involved in that at all?
Nope.
Okay, then go ahead.
Nope. Both times. The first time I went, we got the call and showed up, and it was a good camp. I couldn't ask for more. It was at that time, and I think was it Chase Tatum and all those guys that were in WCW at the time?
Now, wasn't it Terry Taylor also, Diamond?
Well, they brought all these guys from WCW when they were at the camp, and we went in there, and Terry Taylor was there. And he was, the head of talent and making the decisions. Had a killer workout. I mean, I trounced those guys. It was like I couldn't ask for a better camp. Everyone got hired, but John Diamond. So I was like, what the?
Why?
Well,
the fans want to know why. I want to know why.
Well, down the road, what I found out was I was using Kimona as a manager. Right. I was using her. I used her and Missy, and obviously the Guardian of Chaos the most. But at that time period, I was using Kimona. And nothing but business relation. That was it. Nothing ever. Like a little sister. Come to find out down the road, Terry Taylor, that was his side piece. Thought John Diamond was involved with her. And guess whose papers hit the garbage?
Classic.
Speak to that, Mario. Speak to that.
Classic. I mean, you couldn't describe the WWE any better.
Yep.
I mean, that's the way they are. That's the way they are.
And they had a good gimmick I was supposed to get. It was when they were doing the it wasn't a perfect gimmick, but it was a good start. It was when they were doing the Gilbert on Goldberg. they wanted to have me come in and do a parody of Scott Steiner.
Little Papa Pump, I remember.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It would have been great. But then the story even gets worse was then I'm over in Puerto Rico working for Carlos Colon, and I get a call, oh, we want you to come, and we got a deal with WCW. Okay, perfect. What's the deal going to be? Now they want me to come in and be a relative of the Steiners, you know, because that's when everyone was doing the Berwickwas and everyone was
now,
doing
John,
the
that's
family.
1999. Am I
Yeah, in that
right
area,
about
yeah.
that? 98, 99?
Yeah, and that's when they were doing all the Hollies, and then you had all the Dudleys and ECW. So they wanted, hey, we're going to bring you over. We'll do some heat with Rick and Scott. You'll be the cousin or whatever. All of a sudden, I say, Carlos, I'm out, right? Which, that caused me heat because it was right before their big November show. But I'm like, hey, this is getting stateside. I get back, make a phone call. Oh, the deal's been taken off the table. Well, guess who's the booker? Terry motherfucking Scrawny Taylor.
That's right. He was at the time.
Yes, he was.
Now, if I'm not mistaken, 98, 99, you were in WWC for Carlos Colon. That's when Primo was the Puerto Rican heavyweight champion. That's when you came back and we hooked up again and we teamed up against Yoko and Jake the Snake.
Yes.
Now, that's another thing also in common with Mario. He also had the Snake, obviously being in the WWF for almost a decade, had the Snake thrown on him. Now, when you came back from Puerto Rico, I want you to compare quickly before we get on to other things here.
Right.
The differences between Puerto Rico, we know what happened a decade earlier with the Bruiser Brody murder. Compare WWC and what was going on here stateside in the late 90s and compare it to what we were doing.
Puerto Rico was just still legit. I mean, you come in as a stateside American. If you're a heel, you had your locker room. If you're a face, you had a locker room. If you came in there and your brother was a heel and you were a face, they better not see you talking in private or in public.
Well, kayfabe was still alive.
That was a game ender. So you could not be seen talking to each other if you were a face and heel. That was no go. Mondays was, off day. You did TV tapings, and you had to go out to Carlos's school and teach his students, which at the time, Carlito was one of the students. So you had to go out into the jungle with rain coming through the roof onto the ring and teach the students. But I liked Puerto Rico a lot. In hindsight, you know what? I should have probably stayed there because you work 4 days a week. The island's only 3 hours long and big, so you're home every night. You get paid cash in a nice little envelope at the end of the week. I think it ain't better.
Now, fans, we're here with Jack Master John Diamond on the Mario and Chaos Show, episode 65, season 2. Now, what I'd like to address too, and I'm hoping that Mario and Paul each have some questions for you because they haven't met you before, but you guys have so much in common and worked with a lot of the same talent, whether it be Superfly Jimmy Snuka, King Kong Bundy. And what I would like to address is your championship matches against Psycho Sid Vicious. And for a guy who was so huge, you had quite the rivalry with Sid Vicious. Can you speak to that, John?
Yeah, Sid at first when they I remember it was for one of the Northeast shows with O'Brien, and they're like, we need someone. Yeah, he's like, we need someone that'll go up against Sid. Sid wants to have a good match. Now, you got to recall, this is when Sid was in between WWE and WCW and had both belts.
Right.
So I went in and we worked each other and had a hell of a match. I mean, it was good. Sid, they were like, oh, Sid, you're not going to like him. He won't work with you. Awesome. I would wrestle Sid 7 nights a week and, again, double on Sunday.
And that's when he was probably the most dangerous man in the business at that time. Yes, he
was.
He had the stabbing incident with Arn Anderson.
Yes.
and different things like that. I mean, Yeah, John, I saw some of the footage. I was there. What I want to talk about now, Mario and Paul have unbelievable stories. Mario's road dog was Paul Roma. You also had the opportunity, read through your bio and stories that we talked about back in the day. Now, you've traveled with the likes of Stone Cold Steve Austin
Yes.
and Ken Shamrock, who's on Impact now again, and also
Awesome.
a guy that we both traveled with and who may have maybe cost you a job too. And we're
Or
talking
two or three.
the man from the dark side, and that would be prime time Brian Lee, the second Undertaker in the WWE. Let's speak to that and who you traveled with, Stone Cold Shamrock, and then Brian Lee.
Which one do you want to hit first?
Well, the fans want to hear about all of them, Diamond.
All right. Well, we'll hit Brian for a story. When I was in ECW.
Really?
Yeah. When I was in ECW, they wanted me to. I can't remember what show it was, but it's when they're showing ECW clips, and Brian's taking the choke slam from Dreamer through the tables, way up. They wanted me to do that, and Brian came over and he's like, "Nah, man." He goes, "You don't need to do that. I'll do it." So later on, me and Brian started talking, and we became friends. And I started learning quick, like, you got to get into a clique to move up in the business. Everyone had cliques, even in ECW. So Brian was good with Perry and Sabu and all that. Well, we ended up becoming friends, and then that opened up a lot of doors with WWE. And all the viewings and they had me come into all the WWE tapings.
Give me one.
So what was happening was, I remember walking in to one of the shows, and I was in the locker room, and it was just Benoit and Guerrero in there. And Guerrero comes right up to me. He goes, "Oh, John Diamond, nice to meet you." He goes, "I've heard a lot about you. You're going to do great here. It's going to be fun working with you." And I'm like thinking, holy shit, it's going to work this time, And and I'm like,
now, is this the second attempt, Diamond, at the WWE?
Second one, yeah. And then, to make a long story short, every time Brian Lee would get in trouble,
which was often,
guess who it goes back to the clique. How are they going to hurt the boy other than hurting his boys? And that's what they would do. Even though Brian and I were pretty much opposites for what he was getting in trouble for, and that's how that worked.
Listen, I'm going to speak to this. Brian Lee was a great guy, but, he had his demons, Diamond.
Yeah.
He had his demons.
He actually cost us a job in TNA. Back this would be like 2010, TNA was having Brian and I come down because he was living in Jacksonville. They were having us come down every Monday for tapings. And they're like, "Oh, we got a good gimmick for you. We got a good line that we want to do with you guys. We're going to push you, but we want you to," this was in August. They're like, "But we want you to start in October. But you got to be here every Monday." I'm like, what the hell's going on? And I knew what it was. They wanted to make sure that Brian was going to stay clean and that we were going to show up. And then, on a Monday night, I was sitting waiting for Brian to come through. So we drive down, and he never showed. And that was the end of that run,
Now, Mario, now that you're getting to learn a little bit about the Jackmaster, we've talked about him over the last year or so. Anything that you would like to listen? We're coming from the wisdom of Mario Mancini, almost a decade with Vince McMahon, Paul Perez under the Learning Tree, and now the Paradise 4. Any questions, Mario, about Diamond or similar situations that you can come up with here in episode 65?
Well, what's similar, I wish I knew you back then, John. I knew Terry Taylor really well. I could have said something, you know what I mean? But it's what you went through with Terry Taylor is pretty similar to what I went through with Pat Patterson. The only difference is I went and sucked Pat's dick. like Steve Lombardi to get a gimmick,
right?
Like the Brooklyn Brawler did to get his gimmick. I wasn't doing that.
Now, hold on. I want to address this situation right now. I showed you video evidence. Now, be careful. The Brooklyn Brawler is following the Mario and Chaos podcast, and he could be listening right fucking now.
Give a fuck.
Is this an open statement to the Brooklyn Brawler?
Listen, I don't give a fuck. You know what? Yeah, he was already there when I got there, but he wasn't there that much longer before I got there. We had the same job. We were doing the same thing. Only my guy was Altamar and his guy was Pat Patterson. Okay, and I had a father-son relationship with Altamar. Okay, which everybody knew. I was Tony's boy. And he had a little bit of a different relationship with Pat and his wife, Louie. So, the truth is the truth. I don't give a fuck, okay? So, I really don't. I don't care. I don't care. And if Wayne
Brawler, are you
next to
listening?
me, go tell him, Mancini.
Brawler.
Tell him, Mancini.
Are you listening, Brawler? Are you listening?
So, you know, at one point, I really had to fend for myself because, you know, I had to have a talk with Vince McMahon because right after WrestleMania, the first WrestleMania, because I broke in 8 months before the first one, Altamar went to the warehouse with Abe Lincoln. Guy was like, listen, he was the head of the ring crew. The guy was 5'2". He was the spitting image of Abe Lincoln. So Altamar and Abe Lincoln went to the warehouse, and they stole concessions. Somebody stooged on them, and Vince fired both of them. So now here I am in Poughkeepsie, and Vince comes down between TV tapings with Bruno, and I said, Vince, can I talk to you for a minute? He said, sure. I got him in the corner near the men's room. You know, Perez, that corner over there. And, well, John, I'm sure you worked in Poughkeepsie. The midget went there a lot, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, let's go. Let's go to the Poughkeepsie.
You know who he's talking about, Diamond?
Let's go, guys.
Oh,
So,
he does. Listen, Mancini has some great impressions.
I said, Vince, listen. I said, listen, I'm not a thief. I have a mother and father that didn't raise me to be a thief. I'm 19 years old now. I'm like, I'm not a thief. And I don't want his heat. And I don't want the finger pointed at me because of him. And he goes, you're okay. You're all right. I said, you sure? Because Vince can look at you and say you're all right. And you could be on the outside looking in really quick, banging on the door going, what happened? So I go, I'm all right. He goes, no, you're all right, Mario. Don't worry about it. You're all right. I said, okay. And I was, and I was all right, thank God. But I think, Strongbow had a lot to do with that too, because Strongbow became my second father.
Oh, he was like a second father.
He was a second. Listen,
that would have been cool. I never met him.
28 years, we'd hang up the phone, in 28 years, he'd go, I love you, kid. I go, I love you too, Chief. We just got really, really close. And even after I got out in 92 and everything, I can remember Chief calling me at home. In 92, I was at home. So my answering machine goes, hi, we're not home right now, but leave your name in the, right? So, Chief goes, Mr. Mancini, call me, give me a call. Called me Mr. Mancini for 28 years. He goes, give me a call. So I go, Chief, what's up? He goes, number one, take that fucking thing off your answering machine. Don't you ever fucking say you're not home. You say you can't get to the phone. What are you, going soft? I go, I'm sorry, Chief. I'll change it. That I can't get to the phone right now, But I think he had a lot to do with it. He was the agent when I got my nose broken, and he had a soft spot for me. And probably in 2011, a year before he died, he was 82 years old. He said, kid, if it was up to me, I would have put the strap right on your waist. I go, Chief, I believe you. I believe you, Chief. But I've been listening to a lot of YouTube stuff lately, and unfortunately, a lot of people didn't like Strongbow. You know what I mean? In particular, Wayne Ferris. And when I see Wayne, I'm going to say, Wayne, you know what? What the fuck? You know how close I was to Strongbow? I talk to you about it all the time. You got to go on YouTube and say, if Chief was dying in the middle of the street and he needed something to drink, I wouldn't shit down his neck.
Yeah, well, Honky, that was wrong, Mario. Honky
I
talk
wouldn't
shit
shit down his throat, and I'm going to talk to Wayne and go, "What the fuck?"
You know,
bro?
he listens too, right?
Yeah, but you know what though? I love Wayne, and Wayne loves me. I love him to death.
Well, we had a great time last year.
But I wish. Listen, I wish my dad was still alive. I wish, Chief. There's so many times that I'm so unsure of some things sometimes in my life, and when those times came, whether it was 1995 or 2000 or 2002, I pick up the phone and go, "Chief, I need to talk to you." You go, "What's wrong, kid?" "Don't you let them fucking know. This is the move you make. This is what you say. You don't let them do the fucking." He would always be there for me. Always be there for me. You know what I mean? So
you can only go by how someone treats you to your face.
Right.
I mean,
that's the problem. Different. I never had anyone treat me to my face bad. They all went behind my back and stuck the knife 6 inches in.
Well, that's the wrestling business. You know what I mean? Listen, John, when I was in that dressing room, guys would come up to me because there's monitors in there. And they'd go, and this is what SD taught me. And someone would come up to me and go, "Did you see that match, man? Did you see them fuck up? Did you think it was the shits?" I go, "I was talking. I didn't even see it. I wasn't watching. I really was, but I'll look at him and go, I wasn't watching, because if I said, yeah, I saw it was the shits, I'll go right back to them and go, yeah, Mancini said your match was the shit."
Yeah. I mean, the only other two that I know, and I would tell them right to their face that they're the biggest pussies in the world, that screwed me over, is Tom Pritchard. He can suck my ass.
You can say whatever you want, Diamond.
Oh, thank you. And fat ass Tommy Dreamer, Mr. Hardcore. You got to be kissing my ass. That guy ain't no hardcore. He's nothing hardcore about that dude. I would love to fight that motherfucker.
Mario's got a story about Tommy Dreamer, so do I.
Oh, Tommy Dreamer, I know he blackballed me in ECW because
listen,
Eula asked me if I can make a workout diet for him because her fat-ass boyfriend, she wasn't going to ask him.
Well, I'm glad that you're telling it like it is. Listen, I worked with Dreamer a couple of times too. I took the kendo stick, but and I'll go by how he treats me. I get it. Dreamer's been good to me, but Mario's got a story about Dreamer from years ago. Listen, Dreamer's regional right now, national. He's still working. He's on Busted Open Radio. But tell your story, Mario.
Well, this was years. This was 86. When did Dreamer break in?
Well, he was a Rod's guy too.
Late 80s, maybe, Mario?
Can you believe he was a Rod's guy too?
Oh, no. You're right, Big Daddy. This was 89.
Right.
Because this is when Altamar told me to go fuck myself. You're right. You're right. This was 89. So he goes, Muskie Salo is running up in Maine. I said, I'm not going to Maine. He goes, why not? I said, because that's not my contract. I got to ask the office. I don't want to go. I'm not going to Maine. I got a deal up there. I go, listen, T, I'm not going. I go, the only reason why you want me to go is because you're going to fall asleep driving. That you want me to take you on the road. And I get it, but I'm not going. So he guilted me. I said, he goes, 3 days. I said, I'm not doing any jobs. I will not job for anyone. I said, I job to the greatest wrestlers in the world. I'm not jobbing anybody up there. No jobs. None. Okay. So I go up to Maine with him, and it's the first night, and Muskie comes up to me, and he goes, you do a job for Iron Mike Sharp? I said, absolutely. No hesitation, without a doubt. Love Mike. He loves me. We tore him up, and we tore him up everywhere we went. Mike Sharp and I had a match. We came back in, and Valentine looked at us and said, how the fuck am I going to follow that?
Nice.
Okay? We tore it up, man. I said, absolutely. So I got together with Mike. He gave me the gimmick, and that was done. The second night I worked with Sonny Blaze. He was really, really green. Really green. So I didn't want to do anything crazy. Because I'm just going to say he was really young. I was 23. He was 18, but I already had 4 years into the business.
Was he a Monster Factory guy?
You know what, John? I think he was. Larry Sharp. I think he was.
So I went over on him on a sidewalk slam. So we get done with the match, and he goes, "Thank you, Mr. Mancini." I said, No, thank you, brother. I appreciate it. Thank you. He goes, "Yeah, I feel really good." I said, "That's good." He goes, "Seeing that, I had a broken neck." I go, "You had a broken neck? What are you doing in the ring?" He goes, "Well, I thought it would make me feel better because my mother died about 3 weeks ago." I'm like, oh my God. Oh my God. I said, "Listen, you want to go to New York?" He goes, "What?" I go, "You want to go to the WWF? I'll take you there. I got clout there. I'll take you there." He said, "Oh, okay." So he came to the TV taping, and Terry Garvin goes, "Who's that?" I go, "It's Sonny Blaze. He's all right. I worked with him up in Maine. He's okay. He's good." He goes, "All right, we'll put him out there." I said, "Oh, yeah, good." I go, "Sonny, you're working." "Oh, good." He and Terry Garvin got friendly, and I think Straight got friendly. Because let me tell you something. Terry Garvin's another guy. I would never had half the house shows I had without that guy. And just like a Mark, my chin dropped when they said he was bisexual because he never indicated that to me whatsoever, and he loved me. Every time I'd walk in the dressing room, he'd go, "Mario, quesadilla." We'd sit down and we laugh our asses off. Perez, would you even guess that?
No,
you were around him all the time.
Yep.
All the time you were around him.
Wouldn't have guessed.
No, would never guessed. So anyway, I'm up in Maine the third night. Oh, anyway, they ended up giving Sonny a ring. Terry Garvin gave him an old ring. You have no idea the money that guy made renting that ring out, Sonny Blaze. He made bank doing that. Anyway.
Well, especially back then.
Yeah, third night comes. This kid comes up to me with a bow tie. He goes, "Hey, Mancini, when the bell rings, I'm going to kick you in the balls, and then you go down, and then I'm going to spit on you." And I said, "That's a really good grip, kid. You're not doing that to me." He goes, "Well, I'm going over on you." I go, "You're not going over on me. Fuck that. No way." So Muskie comes up. He goes, "Is there a problem?" I said, "Yeah, I'm not doing a job for him." He goes, "Then get dressed." I said, "I will." So I took my boots off and hit the showers and got dressed and just sat there waiting for Tony Altomare. That was Tommy Dreamer.
Again, unbelievable. And I'll say this about Dreamer, okay, because he's a pretty popular guy and he's done very well for himself, been around for a long time. We've all worked with him. He's done well for himself. I'll give him credit for staying in the business. The dedication and passion, I mean, it is what it is. I mean, I like Dreamer, but I get it, Diamond. I want to throw out these names to you, Diamond, because I know a lot of people, since you're going to be on the Mario and Chaos show, are going to be listening. And Mario knows some of these people from the Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame. I'm going to throw out these names. Look, I think he's wearing Superman underwear, too. For the fans that can't see, because we're on audio and video, Mancini just got up off the broadcast on YouTube, okay? And he's got like a Superman thong on as he comes back. Here he is. I'm going to throw these names out, John Diamond.
All right.
And I just, from a former friend and foe, ECW, WWE grappler, Tough Tony DeVito. I'm going to throw out names. I want your response.
Betrayed.
Okay. Tony Roy.
Awesome guy.
Now, let's talk about Tony a little bit, because I also know Tony. You've worked
Which
with
one?
him. You've worked with him extensively.
Which one? You gave me two Tonys.
Now, I want to talk about Tony Roy.
All right.
We'll bring back up DeVito, because I believe Paul Perez may know DeVito. Mario may know DeVito, not only Right, you guys know him from World Wrestling Federation.
Well, Schultz trade DeVito.
Diamond and DeVito at one point, we all ran together with Primo Carnera and everyone. They were tag team partners. And we're going to talk about it, Diamond, whether you want me to bring it up or not.
DeVito was a good kid. He was young. He was a good kid.
Yeah, they would always show up at Quest with Bell. DeVito and Bell used to ride.
Mike Bell, very good friends with all of us, especially Diamond. And we were foes and allies together. I worked with Tony against Diamond and Diamond against Tony. And we all know him. It's a sore subject, whether he's listening or not listening. John, I wanted you to give the background quickly before we talk about your good friends here that were in the Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame. Right. Also, Mario may know them, about you and DeVito and possibly opening up a school, a training facility in Florida. You don't have to get too personal.
All right. Let's just say Tony let me know he was coming to Florida. He needed some help, so I let him stay at my house for almost a year, which was only supposed to be a month. So we'll leave it at that. Didn't see nothing get paid except my utility bills went up, which I covered, and everything else. But on top of that,
get back to the business at hand, Diamond.
Yeah. So I'd been thinking about opening up a wrestling school because I've always had a lot of people ask me about it. So finally, I had been looking around buildings. You know, I'm a businessman. I've got 3 or 4 other businesses. So finally, I said to Tony, I was like, because he wasn't working, he wasn't doing nothing. I was like, if I get this wrestling school opened up, would you want to train? I know you don't got no money. So I'll put the money out there. You do most of the training because I got other businesses. We'll call it a squash. So here I am. I'm giving you a business and a payday. So we find this guy who's got this rinky-dink bullshit, probably the worst indie wrestling I've ever seen in my life, called Go Wrestle. I walk in, the guy's got a school. I was like, Tony, let me do all the talking. I got this. So I talked to the guy. We got it to where I worked it out to where he had a ring already. He had everything. He had students. He just didn't know what he was doing. So we took over the wrestling school, got the ring. I did all the promoting, the promotions, shirt. I spent probably a good $4,000 on it. Got Tony in there. After it gets going halfway decent, he gets together with the other guy who he didn't even know, and they kicked me out so they could get my payday.
And now you guys were lifelong friends. How long were you friends with DeVito?
20 years, probably.
No, you didn't do that.
Sure
did.
did.
Mario, this is true story,
I couldn't make it up. And believe me, I got screwed out of such little money. If I was going to make it up, I would have made it a big amount. That's what pissed me off so much, is that a friendship is worth $100 a week, if that. I would have never done that. Big Daddy's known me. I will never betray a friend. That's what cost me my jobs in WWE, because I wouldn't betray Brian Lee.
Yeah, so it's just something that I wanted to clear the air. I mean, we don't even know where Tony is, and I bring it up because Paul and Mario and I knew him, and you know what he did with you guys in the business deal. You know, between friendship, it's sometimes it's always.
I never would have expected it. He was in He was at my wedding. Never had heat with him. I used to say that there's a few guys that I would trust with my life that would never screw me over. You're one of them. Jimmy Shoulders is one. And DeVito was one. So imagine how it felt when, holy shit, that happened.
Sounds like Schultz and Hogan.
I mean, it is what it is. I mean,
right, Mario, that's a valid point.
I know why he did it, and I'm not going to put his personal business out there and who the other person was and what the deal was. I mean, I'm not going to be that ruthless on it, but it is what it is, and, you know, move on. But it sucked that it happened because I never would have seen it coming in the world. And I never would have done it.
I'm glad that you addressed it because it's been a story that's been out there for a little while, especially with all the guys that we know from the area that went on to do big things, whether it be, God rest his soul, Mad Dog Mike Bell, Primo Carnera, you know, wreaking havoc. The
Mad Dog used to do my taxes.
I want to bring up these names because Mario and Paul Perez also know these guys. They've worked for Paradise Alley.
Yeah, you know, I thought DeVito had more integrity than that. I got to be honest. I really did. I thought he had more integrity than that. I thought he was.
I'm very surprised too, Mario. Listen, trust me, we were all very surprised by that, and it had to be something personal
I'll never understand it. So, I know why. I just can't. I'm not going to put it out there on why. Behind the scenes, off air, I'll tell you why.
Well, it's an unfortunate story. Again, give me your thoughts on Kevin Landry, who also worked for Paradise Alley Pro Wrestling. Your thoughts on one of your biggest allies, who now has his own school up in Massachusetts.
Kevin, I always liked Kevin. We had I actually went over on him a few times working, and then we were tag partners a couple times. And I like Kevin. Used to be funny because he used to hang around with the Stiffy twins.
Yeah, I want to bring them up right now. Let's talk about Dean and Dave from WCW fame, the Power Company. Hey, they won a lot of titles.
There was always a lot of jokes. I actually worked with them down here in Florida. After all the years, I thought, I'll never see the Stiffy twins ever again. And all of a sudden, I went over to work on one night, American Combat Wrestling. By the end of the night, actually, I went to watch the show. Ralph kept bugging me for 2 years. And then Bam Bam Bigelow got on the phone. He's like, Johnny, you're a veteran. Come over and see the boys. So I was like, all right, I'll take my wife. It'll be an easy, safe night. We'll sit in the crowd. We'll watch it. By the end of the night, I feel bad for my wife to this day because she knew nothing about the wrestling business. And this wasn't, and this wasn't even planned. We're sitting there. I'm dressed up, white shirt, dress shoes on. And all of a sudden they come out. And Ralph kept calling me out and talking shit. And
now, Ralph was Roughhouse Ralph Mosca, correct?
Yeah. So finally, come out of the ring, left a bloody mess, but came out with that one victorious too. But guess who was there? Stiffy twins. I was like, my life couldn't get. It was like Groundhog Day.
Now, Paul or Mario, are you familiar with the Power Company, the twins, Dean and Dave?
Negative. Never had the opportunity.
Never.
They were big up in New England.
Heard of them.
No,
they were around the scene for quite some time. They were on WCW Thunder back in the 90s. But, John, I want to bring this up because he kayfabed me because I was sending him all the episodes of the early podcast. But he's a great guy, but he did kayfabe me. It's a chaos. What the fuck are you doing sending me all this shit? How's Jimmy Shoulders?
Jimmy Shoulders is doing great, man. I love that dude.
I was sending him all our early episodes of the podcast. He's like, what the fuck are you doing? I don't have time to listen at work. So I left Jimmy alone, but I love Jimmy Shoulders.
Jimmy got me through a little rough time because he's friends with, that's how I knew Jimmy. I met Jimmy at ECW, matter of fact, in the early days.
Mario knows all these guys. He just may not correlate the names because they were all inducted into the New England Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame.
Yeah. So I met Jimmy in the locker room at ECW, and then became friends with Candido. So then, we were very good friends. And then I helped Jimmy through some tough times back in the day, and he's doing awesome. But there was another time I got screwed over by Tom Pritchard, who was friends with Candido and Jimmy, because Candido wanted to bring me in as one of the Body Donnas.
Well, we worked with Candido a couple of times. Let me tell you something. He was a great guy, Diamond. Chris Candido. I mean, he really
awesome
was.
Guy. I love Chris. And he wanted to bring me in as a Body Donna, and Pritchard put the X on it. He said I was too old. I was 32. I was 32 at the time.
You know what? It's too bad, Diamond, because you know who you remind me of? You remind me of our boss at Paradise Alley, our head trainer, who's 60 years old. Now, John, you're in your 50s. You're in tremendous shape. If you've ever seen lately, and Mario and Paul could speak to this because we just reopened back up at Paradise Alley after the COVID pandemic. It's still going on. Mario, maybe you could speak to that. Diamond reminds me of physically and in his shape of Roma. And let the fans know, Mario, what's going on with Paradise Alley and how we opened up and just what Roma's up to at Paradise Alley and what we have moving forward.
Well, hopefully, pretty soon they'll announce, even though I still think the COVID thing's a work. When I say a work, I mean it's gaining speed and everybody's turning its back on it. But as soon as they announce that we can have 50 people or less, at least we'll do an alley fight at the dojo. You know what I mean? But Roma's teaching Wednesdays and Saturdays now. So we're back to our old schedule. I taught the newbies last night. See, what John, the thing we have at Paradise Alley is we tell the truth.
Mm-hmm.
So if you come in and lay your money down and go, okay, I joined, you're going to start off with me. Why? Because I was one of the biggest losers in pro wrestling history. So what am I going to do? I'm going to teach you how to fall, right? I'm going to teach you how to fall. I'm going to teach you how to beel, buckle, ropes, go out of the ring, the whole 9 yards. I'm going to teach you all the bumps and all the basics, the chain wrestling and everything like that.
Sure.
So, you know, when my eye sees that you're ready, you move on to Wednesdays and Saturdays because Roma was in WrestleMania and he was over.
Sure.
So he's going to teach you the drop kicks, the leapfrogs, how to climb the ropes, come off the top, and he's going to really get deeper into psychology with you than I did. So, you know what I mean? I build the foundation and Roma builds the house. So, and there's never been any conflict at all with that.
That's
it's
cool.
just like it's like the PAPW company itself. I run the business. I take care of the venues. I do the contracts. I take care of the concessions. Roma does the booking and he does the storytelling. So, you know, and it works out well. And you know, Perez, but you know, he'll take care of all the technical stuff until there's something that he sees really, really wrong, and then he goes, "Well, come here."
Well, for
Now,
Perez to
Perez-
speak up, listen, he's a man of few words. If Perez speaks up and points
That means
out a mistake,
there's something really fucking wrong.
Now, who was your really your like breaking in first pro match against? I'll never forget mine.
Greg Valentine.
Was it? Mine was Bundy.
Wow, yours was
Yeah.
Chris.
Yes, in the
now,
Poconos.
Mario has an extensive history with Bundy. Tell the story, Diamond.
And it was awesome. I'll never forget. It was in the Poconos. We get in the ring. I'm like, all right, we're wrestling Bundy. And I had this thought in my head how the match was going to go. He gets me in the corner. I'm like, all right, Bundy's going to, he's going to drop the forearm. Knocks the life out of me. Every ounce of air comes out of me. So I kind of like, it wasn't a work. I kind of went out to the middle of the ring on my knees, and Bundy looks down at me, goes, "Oh, kid, so you want to be a pro wrestler, huh?" In that deep voice. And my mind's going 1,000 miles a minute. I'm trying to think of all my training and what did Rods tell me to do. And he's like, all right, this is the point where you just got punked out. So if you don't do something, this is going to go through every locker room, and every vet's going to do this to you. So the only thing I did is I'm on my knees. I hit Bundy in the nuts, legit, as hard as I could. He goes down to one knee. And he's got that deep, now he's gasping for air, and he's doing all that. And all of a sudden we get back to where we're supposed to go. He gives me the 5 count. We get to the locker room. I'm in there, I'm packing quick. I'm like, not even taking a shower. And all of a sudden they're like, here comes Bundy. I'm like, oh, I'm dead. And he's a vet, so I'm going to give him his respect. So I'm ready to get a potato, a dot in the eye, whatever it takes. All he does is he comes over to me, goes, "I like you, kid." And that was it. Patted me on the shoulder. We were buddies ever since then.
Oh, yeah. But I walked into Poughkeepsie. It was March of '85. 3 months before my 19th birthday. So Bundy's in jeans, a pair of canvas sneakers, and a white Fruit of the Loom t-shirt. And he's sitting in the dressing room in Poughkeepsie like this. So I look up on the board, it says Bundy v. Mancini. I said, ah, shit. So I go up to him. I go, I'm Mario Mancini. He goes, Chris. I go, how you doing, Chris? He goes, I go, listen, I'm working with you tonight. He goes, yeah, I can't believe I'm back here. I go, well, what do you mean? He goes, well, I was a jobber here. I had long hair and
Chris Canyon.
Chris Canyon had long hair. He goes, I went away and shaved my head. I came back. I said, listen to me. I'm going to sell for you like you won't believe. You don't have to kill me. You know, Strongbow hears me, comes walking up fast, and he goes, listen, the kid here, he's under contract. He said he signed. He said he's got talent, this kid. He goes, he's good. He's okay, this kid, okay? Bundy goes, okay. So we lock up. I went, oh. And he just gave me that forearm. It was like an anvil coming down. I'm like, oh, my God. So then I worked with him again and again. And we would talk more and more and travel together. Not that much. We did a little bit, but we became really good friends. So I remember before WrestleMania 3, I had to do a stretcher with him because I'm sitting in the dressing room and he's looking at me and I make eye contact with him and I go, what? He goes, it's over. I said, get the fuck out of here. It's not over. He goes, listen, it's over. I said, Chris, it's not over. You're talking stupid. He goes, what was the main event WrestleMania last year? I go, you and Hogan in the cage. He goes, yeah, what am I doing this year? I go, it's you and me, boo.
It's over.
He goes, Mancini, it's okay. I'm going to tell you why it's okay, okay? Because when I came into this territory in a $30,000 house, I still have it. When I came into this territory, I came in with my car. I still have the same car. I saved every dime. Every dime. I said, I saved every dime. So now I'm booked in this
1999
wrestling show at the Westchester County Center that Big Daddy says he was at.
You cocksucker.
So Bundy looks at me and he goes, Mancini. I go, what? He goes, I give him a big hug. I'm like choked up to see him. He goes, go get my money. I go, okay. So I go up to Capone and I go, Bundy wants his money. You got the envelope? He goes, yeah. He gives me the envelope. I walk back up to Chris. I go, here's your money. Thank you, brother. I go, no, not a problem. So he goes,
everybody's, go ahead, Mario. I'm sorry.
Everybody's
got a story.
He goes, listen, I'm going to go and give you that avalanche. You move and cover me. I said, no. He goes, listen, I have to pay you back for what you did for me in New York. I'm putting you over tonight. I go, yeah, that's not happening. That's not happening. He goes, why do you want to argue with me about this? I go, because let's take the friendship out of it. Let's just look at the characters. Mario Mancini doesn't go over on King Kong Bundy. He's like, fine, you're a pain in the ass. So now he goes out to the crowd, and he comes back in, and he's staring at me. I go, what, is there a change or something? What is it? He goes, well, I was out there for quite some time. I go, yeah? He goes, well, I signed a lot of autographs. I go, wait a minute. I'm the heel. Me. He goes, well, I go, you're the baby face. I'm the heel. He goes, well, yeah. I go, yeah, okay, Chris, no problem. I get in that fucking ring. He grabbed that microphone. I said, no chops. He goes, no chops. I go, okay. He grabs that microphone. He goes, I didn't know I was wrestling a midget tonight. I'm looking at him. I'm going, you son of a bitch. He goes, hey, man.
I got that on video.
He goes, hey, Mancini, if I go like this to your stomach, will you go, The whole crowd starts laughing, right? So I give him that one clothesline. I give him that second clothesline. I give him that third clothesline. He takes that big bump, you know. And then he makes a comeback and he bends me. When I give him that last clothesline, he goes, you stiff prick motherfucker. I go, haven't worked in 7 years. So he bends me over the top rope. I'm like this. I go, don't do it. I'm actually looking at him going, don't do it. Don't do it. And he goes, boom. I said, you son of a bitch. He goes, that's for the clothesline.
And he went down on that clothesline, Mancini. I was viewing that tape. Yeah. You hit him 3 times. And if I'm not mistaken, I think the third one was from the left side. And, you know, Diamond, Mario was also responsible for another show. And if it wasn't for him, it may not have gone over. Do you remember we also were at the same event, John? You might have been going for the title that night. That was the night in the Orange County Fairgrounds when it was the
Middletown, New York.
Right, Middletown, New York. It was the first return for Bret to hit me at Hart.
So now, John, you know how we got Bret there? You know how Capone got Bret there?
John was there that night.
Bret Hart. He calls up Bret Hart, and he goes, I'd like to book you for Middletown, New York. He goes, who are you? I said, he goes, I'm Tony Capone. He goes, I don't know you. He goes, I'm not coming. I'm no, thank you. He goes, well, Mario Mancini's my cousin. He goes, oh, really?
Yep,
he goes, then he goes, then I expect to see Mario there. But that motherfucker didn't tell me until the day of the show. At 3
John, that
o'clock.
was that double shot that weekend. If you remember that
Yes.
weekend, the next night we were in Mount Vernon with Sabu.
Yep.
But if it wasn't for Mancini, Capone lied to him, said Mancini was his cousin
Yep.
that night in Middletown. And that
Yeah.
was huge in the industry, John, if you remember,
Yeah.
because that was Bret Hart's return to New
Right.
York
And
City.
what I remember about that is that you're right. I did get a title that night, and I'll never forget Brett.
Vic Devine. It was Vic Devine was the champion. Vic
And-
Devine.
And Bret Hart, to me, that night was the biggest dick I've ever met in my life.
You know
Because he
why,
wanted to
John?
have
Because he was still
in
on
his own
Queer
locker
Street.
room
He's still on Queer Street.
and
He
wouldn't
was-
talk to any of the boys.
No, he was still on Queer Street. I walked into that tent and I said, hey, Brett, what's going on? I shook his hand. He goes, hey, how are you? I go, what?
Yeah.
He goes, hey, how are you? I go, Brett, it's Mario Mancini. He goes, oh, hey, Mario, how you doing? And he had an assistant with him. And I go, is he okay? That was shortly after he got the kick.
Yep.
Right. At the Montreal Screwjob.
Because,
Yeah, no. The kick
Oh,
to
no,
the
he
head.
got the concussion.
yeah,
Correct.
because that
Correct,
night,
correct.
Primo came up to me. He goes, Johnny. He goes, Bret Hart's in there. You going to go say hi? I'm like, fuck no, I'm not going to say hi. He's no better than us. And Primo's like, yeah. I think I should bitch slap him.
Well, let me tell you this about that night. I want
Primo.
to straighten this out because it's a legendary story that we find out now years later. Mario was responsible, and you're right, Mario. It was after he got the concussion. It wasn't the Montreal screw job, but it was the first time he returned to New York. And if it wasn't for Mancini, Bret Hart would have never got there and came back to New York. And about the incident in the locker room, Mario's right, and John, you're right. It went around the locker room like wildfire
Yes.
that night. That Bret Hart was pissed. He didn't want to talk to any of the boys. He kayfabed and snubbed the locker room. But guess what? I was commissioner for Bruno from the night before, if you remember, or the month before, whatever night it was. That night, Bret Hart was coaxed, and I brought him back into the dressing room. If you remember, he ended up, after that incident, talking to all the boys, and everybody was like, wow. He started off as a dick, but he came back and showed his respect for the locker room.
Let me tell you guys
that up.
something about the respect for independent pro wrestling. And Perez was there that night because for a while there, we were the three musketeers there. It was me, Perez, and Mark Thomas, right?
I love Mark.
Right. We were in Shelton, Trumbull, Monroe, somewhere, Perez. And I was in a match with that kid, Ray. And he had like a missing link gimmick. And he was a hell of a worker, that kid. I don't know what happened to that kid, but
I think it was Wallingford.
he was a great worker, that kid. Anyway, he screwed up a spot. He used to spit a green mist out of his mouth. And while I was on the canvas, he spit it on me. And of course, it would have been more effective if I was on my feet and the whole place can see it. Perez, who was standing in the corner of that gymnasium that night watching that whole show?
Terry Garvin.
Terry Garvin. And I was shitting my pants. And he came in the dressing room. I said, Terry, what are you doing here? I go, I can't believe you're here. What are you doing here? He goes, Mario. Well, not Terry Garvin. He went, Mario. He said, this is the best wrestling. This right here is the best wrestling here. The grassroots. The independent pro wrestling where guys work hard.
Yep.
And not get paid what the other guys get paid, what they're used to back there. He goes, this is the best stuff right here. This is where it all started. So there's Terry Garvin, the assistant to the vice president of the WWF at an independent pro wrestling show. And then Perez, he looks at me and goes, you know, you should have been standing when he sprayed that in your face, right? I go, yeah, Terry, I know that.
going back to what you said before, Mario, about who was it that you said that you would sit in the locker room and they would ask you about the matches, like if they were good or bad?
Any of them, Lombardi would do that.
Yeah. You know who took me under their wing and did that? And it was, to me, a huge honor, was Rick Rude when he was with ECW. They were grooming me, and they were like, when these matches, when you're not wrestling or you're not out there, you sit right here, you shut the fuck up, and you don't say nothing unless we ask you. Him and Shane Douglas. And they would have me watch every match, and then they would ask me stuff. And if I, God forbid, if I didn't give them the answer they wanted, but Rick Rude, for some reason, took me under the belt like that. And then another one who really guided me a lot, which I give him credit, is Harley Race, because I worked for him out in World Legion.
Yeah, John, that's Harley. Right. That's when we were trying to get out to World Legion, and you went out to the camp with Harley Race. Am I not mistaken?
Yeah.
I worked with Harley. Harley, and my name, which I still can't believe to this day, my name is in the same sentence of being inducted into the New England Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame with Harley Race. But Harley, you know what? This is what Harley said to me. He said, "Son, I know what they do here, and they can do what they want, but not me. See, I'm going to beat you tonight, but I'm going to beat somebody. I'm not going to beat nobody."
Right.
Because that doesn't make any sense. He goes, "So you're going to have stuff to do, but you're going to I'm going to beat somebody." So, Harley, it was guys like Harley Race and Terry Funk didn't believe in that Pat Patterson squash job. They wanted the fans to see that. They wanted the fans to believe that, there's a chance this guy can beat him.
Right. You got to tell a story. Right.
Yeah. Well, it was hard on TV for 2.5 minutes, but guys like Terry Funk and Harley Race, it made it work. Guys like DiBiase and Kurt Hennig and, all those guys, they made it work. Harley Race is good. Rick Rude was my last match.
Yeah.
April 26, 1992. That was it. But Rick Rude was legitimate, man. He was
great. My last match, the first time, was against Snuka, and it was an honor. Jimmy, I went over on Jimmy. I beat the snot out of him, and he was like, "Brother, this is what you're bigger, you're stronger, because everyone, like Big Daddy, we've had to talk so much between Harley. He's like, "You're going to be the next biggest thing for this group." The magazines were writing it all, and even with Snuka, he had me. I actually came out with Pat Piper, and we were up in Boston area.
You're gonna tell the story when I broke the coconut over your head with Snuka?
Oh, yeah. That was great, right? And Snuka, I put it to him for Snuka didn't go over on me at all. He didn't get nothing, and it was such an honor, but. He was like, "Put it to me." I was like, "You sure, Jimmy?" And yeah, we went.
We drilled the coconut, Mario. I told you this story before.
Oh,
it was Pat the Brat Piper who was doing the Piper gimmick, and Jimmy Jr., Snuka Jr. He had his kid with him, and Jimmy, and me and Diamond. And
I figured it'll break if we drill it.
He agreed to do the coconut gimmick. And we went and bought one. We had a drill. We were drilling it backstage in the locker room, trying to split it open. It was hard as a rock. And then we got in the ring. You're holding him. Of course, here comes the fat Guardian, 330-pound
and
Guardian.
And the Jackmaster took it.
I run across the ring with the coconut, Snuka ducks. We didn't gimmick it good enough, and I split
blood everywhere.
Head wide open.
Blood everywhere. The crowd popped, though. Oh, the crowd popped.
He gave me the headbutt, went to the top rope, splashed you, and we ended up in Boston Memorial till 5 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
John, we get 5 staples?
Yeah. Oh, but it was fun. Then we went out.
I fucked up that night, man. I fucked up that night.
It was a good one. Now, like, if you had to pick someone out, though, that was your best match, who was it? Because Harley brought me out for a long time. He kept flying me back. And in the whole career, my best matches were against the run with Tommy Rogers. He was with, What was Tommy's group back in the day? Tommy Rogers.
Tommy just passed away, I believe.
Right. But,
Tommy Rogers. Was he with Stan Lane?
Yes, but their
Fantastics?
group was
Fantastic.
Yes. Had a great run with him. He was probably him and Glamour Boy Shane in Puerto Rico, my two best matches ever in my career. It was just phenomenal.
I had great matches with Mike Sharp. My best TV match was with Buddy Rose.
You're right, Mario. I agree with that.
But I have to say that the best matches I ever had, you know what? I don't remember who got hurt. Somebody got hurt. And it started in Middletown, New York. And it went all the way up to like Binghamton, Syracuse, Rochester, Glens Falls, all those towns up there.
Binghamton, I went there once.
Somebody got somebody got hurt.
Perez went to Binghamton. He never came back.
Yeah, somebody got hurt, and I ended up doing 9 days with Bret Hart.
That'd been cool.
So
unbelievable, Mario.
Yeah.
The actual, I don't want to say hardest match, but the most tiring one. And as I got to be a vet, it was funny how you learn these things. They had me wrestling Bob Backlund, and I never met Bob, and we actually didn't even really meet. All we met was for like 5 minutes. He goes, "We're going to go a half hour. We're main event," and he goes, "It's going to be the chicken wing." I said, "All right." That was all we talked. That was it. That was the whole.
That is it.
Everything.
That was it. That was the only thing.
That was it. So we got out there.
Yeah, that is it.
Yeah, we got out there, and we're just going, and we're working. And this guy, you know, I was always in good shape, and he's working my ass off, you know, and we're working. Finally, I'm thinking in my head, all right, I heard the 30-minute bell or the 30-minute time go, and I'm thinking, all right, I'm getting paid $300-400, whether I go 30 minutes or an hour and 30 minutes. It doesn't matter. I'm not getting any more money. So we're going, and finally, I'm getting tired. So I said to the referee, I can't remember his name. I said, "Hey, Backlund wants to take it home." Well, Bob was like screaming at the crowd and all this stuff, you know, like Backlund wants to take it home. He goes, "Are you sure?" I go, yeah. I go, so I said, "Chicken wing." That's all I said to the ref. So Bob wanted to do a bunch of faults, you know, kickouts and all that. He wanted me to kick out of the chicken wing a couple times. He's like, "You're bigger and stronger. Let's get out of it, and then I'll really clamp it on." And I was like, all right. Also, I'm tired. Bob comes back over. He slaps on that chicken wing. I look at the ref, and I'm like tapping. The ref calls it. I roll out of the ring, and I'm gassed. I'm tired. I get to the locker room. Backlund comes back. He's fuming. He goes, "What the fuck was up with that referee? Where the hell is he? I need to find him." He goes, "I wanted to go at least 15 more minutes." I was like, I was ready for it too, Bob. I go, "I don't know what was up with that referee." I packed up and I was gone. Backlund was heated.
Now, I know we're going long here. We're in episode 65, season 2, with the legendary Mario Mancini and Paul Perez, our producer, and of course, a hardcore legend, the Jackmaster John Diamond. And I want to bring this up because it's something that Mario and I talked about back probably 2 years ago. John, you and I have talked about it. We talked about politics, and I'm going to bring this up. And although I respect and love the man, and now Mario and Paul, now that you've gotten to know him a little bit better, where did I go here? Now that you've gotten to know John Diamond, your thoughts on his career, his person, just from this, and if anybody belongs in the Hall of Fame, it's the Jackmaster John Diamond.
I'm just pissed that we didn't, run in the same circles.
Yeah, John, I you know what? I try not to say it because either you can shrug it off and say that's nice, or can really eat at your soul. You would have fit in perfectly. You were a good fit. You would have fit in right in. I
appreciate it. I remember talking to Brian Lee one time, and we actually was on one of the road trips with Stone Cold. We were coming back from we're at the Veterans Memorial, and then we were heading to the Garden. And we were talking, and Stone Cold said something like, "Man, if had gotten into the game 6 years earlier. And it was just one of those things, timing and not knowing anyone, and never thought I'd actually have a career in the wrestling. But that's exactly what Stone Cold and all them said too. It's just like the timing. If you could have got in 6, because I don't get it. And it does eat you up a little bit with the Hall of Fame stuff, because I know a lot of guys who are in there that I know personally, and I like most of them.
Well, I could say this.
I beat all of them that are in there. I know that.
I can say this. I'm very close to Joe Bruin. Joe Bruin's my brother. When I was talking to him last year, and he said, what's Perez up to? He wanted to put Perez in the Hall of Fame, and I'm very close to Joe Bruin.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, that's great. I can't wait to tell him. And he said, hey, Mario. I said, yeah. He goes, I am the only one that informs wrestlers that they're being inducted into the Hall of Fame. No one else. I will call Perez. I go, okay, Joe. I'm very close, and let me say it again. I am very close to Joe Bruin. I was at a function with him. I had mentioned a wrestler that's in Connecticut that I bidded for, and he looked me square in my eyes and went, no. I went, okay, Joe. And I never brought it up again. He goes, no. I went, okay. So, I never asked him what his critique is. I never asked him what the credentials were. All I knew was this. He got a hold of me in 2013. I didn't know I wasn't in the WWE encyclopedia. And he said, you're in there. And he said, I got a guy coming all the way from Japan just to meet you. I go, why would you assume that I was going to say yes? Because John, what drives Big Daddy crazy is I'm nothing. I'm nobody. And he disagrees. But I never sold a ticket. Nobody in Columbus, Ohio said, oh my God, Mario Mancini's coming to Columbus. I got to buy a ticket. I never sold a ticket, not one ticket.
That's not the point. The reason I say that, Mario, is because Vince McMahon trusted Mario Mancini for damn near a decade.
And you know what? I got to tell you guys something. And Perez knows I never blow myself, but I did learn something about myself last night, brand new. Flash decided to go on his phone.
Flash Waller, one of the star students.
And he showed me matches that I've never seen before. Well, obviously, I wrestled with them, but they're not on YouTube or anything. I go, right. Where the fuck you get all these matches? He goes, Tuesday Night Titans. I was on 12 spots on Tuesday Night Titans. So that means Vince McMahon has to pre-approve these things for his interview. Right. And he must be going, wait, you got one with Mancini? You got one with Mancini? So I had to do something right. You're right about that, Big Daddy. But as far as I walk in my life,
I agree with Big Daddy.
As far as I walk in my life, so Bruin's going, can you come? And I'm like, no. I go, you don't want me. They want big stars. He goes, you're wrong. You're wrong. You're so wrong. I said, listen, if I come there and I sign 2 autographs in 7 hours, I'm going to kill you. He goes, it won't happen. It won't happen. So I had one guy almost knocked my table over. I go, bro, what are you doing? He goes, I didn't know you were here. He goes, I'm eating a hot dog all the way across the ballroom. All of a sudden, my buddy comes up with your picture. I go, where the fuck did you get that? Where's he? He's all the way in the corner. He goes, I ran here. I go, easy, go easy. Then my wife at the time, At the
Been
How are
time,
you, Mickey Rourke?
Been there, done that.
Mickey Rooney. At the time goes, pokes me on the shoulder and goes, there's a very confused Oriental man in the middle of the ballroom, and he's looking around.
Konnichiwa.
Looking around. And all of a sudden he spots me and he, whoa, Mancini. Why don't you ever come to Japan? How come you never come to Japan? I go, I'm sorry. He goes, I'm Shu. Look.
Mancini, he got more skid marks on the back of his underwear than a car wreck at the Indy 500.
Look. He gave me this as a gift from Japan. Right? So Bruin comes up to me at the end of the night, and he goes, hey, Mario. I said, yeah, Joe. He goes, I want to induct you in the Hall of Fame next year. I go, really? For what? He goes, what do you mean for what? I go, Hall of Fame? I go, what the because, well, John, I'm used to, listen, Howard Finkel came up to me in the dressing room one day, and he goes, Mario, we need you in Landover, Maryland on Tuesday. I go, really? For what? Tuesday Night Titans. My knees were wobbling. I go, oh, man. Really? Yeah. Only stars go on Tuesday Night Titans. I'm like, I'm getting a push. I'm 18 years old. I go, it happens this fast? John, this is what I'm saying.
Right.
It happens this fast? I'm getting a push. And then Pete Doherty comes up to me and goes, hey, Mario, are you going to Landover? Are you going to Landover on Tuesday? I go, yeah. And then Rusty Brooks came up to me. Hey, Mario, you're going up to Land? I go, yeah. Then, of course, Lombardi coming up to me. Is you going to Landover on Tuesday? I go, yeah. So I went back up to Finkel and I go, hey, Howard, what kind of show is this? He goes, the Unsung Heroes of Wrestling. He goes, what's that? He goes, the Losers. And
you know, the whole thing, Big Daddy's always known. I've always been one who will be direct to whoever I got a problem with. And I even asked Brew, it all came about. I didn't even know they had a New England Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame until one day Tony Roy and I were talking. It's like, John, he goes, how long have you been in the Hall of Fame? I go, what are you talking about? He goes, yeah, I'm in. I go, I'm not in. He goes, wait a minute. He goes, you were over on me every time we've ever worked in the hell of a... He goes, what do you mean you're not in? I said, I'm not in. Then I found out that Kenny Casanova's in. And I was like, now,
the manager,
I like Casanova. Yeah. But he only got work three-fourths of the time when I got him on the show or he was with me. So
he's
like,
a talented guy, Casanova.
So I'm like, how the hell did he get in the... And then I started going down the list, and I'm thinking, how did some of these guys get into this thing? They only worked if I... Goddamn, even Big Daddy only worked three-fourths of the time if I booked them.
Hey, wait. That's first off, that's not true.
But I love you.
I worked all over the place. Hold on. Let me defend myself here. First off, if it wasn't for Mario Mancini, I know my name was brought up, and Joe, I owe a lot to Mario because it was brought up. So I owe a lot. And you're right. Valid point. Once the Guardian of Chaos gets in, you know the New England Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame credentials went right out the window. But you're wrong, Diamond. I
made you manager of the year.
Fucking country, man, for all
I know you did. I'm joking with you, baby. I love you. How many times did I make you manager of the year?
Oh, of course, John. I owe a lot to you. I owe a lot to Mario.
Tell you is this. The only thing I can tell you is this. I've met a lot of people in my life. A lot of people in my life. Joe Bruin's one of the best human beings I've ever met in my life.
I could vouch for that, Mario.
John,
we've known Joe since he was a teenager.
Sure. I remember him back from, here's how it was. I even asked Joe.
Promos with us.
I know. I said, Joe, do I got heat with you straight up? He's like, no, we got no heat. He goes, your time's going to come. I'm like, are you mad because I did all the center ring interviews? I was center ring's man of the most favorite wrestler for 20 years. I was like, are you mad about what is it?
John, I told you.
What's that, the Fog Man?
Yes.
Yeah.
We love Fog. No. We love Fog.
I did some of the original Center Ring interviews back then and did their show. And one time I destroyed his whole setup. They loved it.
No, we
felt bad
love
that they had no
Fog.
money to fix it.
Fog's harmless.
Oh, I know. I
We
love
love
Fog.
Listen,
Fog's
Fog's okay, man.
And I
Fog's
heard he
a good
was
dude.
sick.
Whoa.
He's a good dude.
I heard he was in the hospital.
Perez? Oh, we can't hear you.
Fuck Fog.
There you go. Yeah, he was in the hospital. He had a problem with his foot.
Yeah,
The son of
hopefully
a
he's all
bitch.
right.
The son of a bitch gave me a great scare a couple weeks ago. Told me I had to get one of those stents in his heart. And then it went from that to his heart's clear. It was just some fluid. I said, I'm going to kill you, Fog.
He was working you.
Listen, we all know the Fog and the.
I've had
what-
Fog
he's a
over
good
for
dude.
Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
I've had Fog over Christmas Day.
His heart is in the right place. He's one of a kind, Fog.
Fogman used to love it because John Diamond would bring the strippers from Scores, and they would be on his program. Now, what other wrestler could have that done?
None.
Big Daddy?
None.
Big Daddy. Be
Well,
honest,
listen.
Big Daddy.
Listen, John, listen again. You've had 3 managers in your career, Missy Hyatt, Kimona Wanalea, and the Guardian of Chaos. I think that says a lot. I know we're way overextended.
Yeah, we're going on 2 hours here, Big Daddy.
I
It's
just
almost
want to
midnight.
thank
I know.
Jack Master, John Diamond, for being on here. You know, we went over because we're going to be on vacation for a little bit. So this is a special episode. I want to thank our producer, Paul Perez, our special
Perez, you can
guest,
split
Jack
this.
Master. And
No,
of course,
no. It's going one shot, bro.
And of course, obviously, the man that stirs the drink, and that's Mario Mancini. So, Jack Master, thank you. Give out your contacts, where you are, your tattoo
I
shop,
will.
John, whatever you want to plug, and then we'll take
Hey.
it out of here.
All I'm saying is if anyone of you guys ever want to come down to Florida, want a free vacation, I got room. Come on down. I know you're going to go for it, Daddy.
John, I
Hey.
come down there, John. I got to do a recolor.
Oh, no problem. Look up.
Badass tattoo.
Oh, yeah, we got the best shop in the whole county here, probably this part of Florida, but,
You got to touch this guy up. I got him in 99.
oh, no doubt.
Yeah.
But
John, give a little plug for the shop, John.
anyone ever wants to come down, you're more than welcome.
Excellent.
Trust Joe. Listen, trust Joe Gruen. Trust him.
I've got no problem. I asked him. He said
Yeah,
we didn't have
trust
heat,
him.
so we'll go from there.
No. Trust him. He's just gonna do. You know, he has a system, and he's gonna go through. Listen, I got inducted before Paul Roma. Explain that.
Right?
Perfect
Hey,
example.
you know what? And just so no one gets the wrong idea, it's not an ego thing. It's just that through everything that went on through the business, and I loved pro wrestling, but so many things had happened that I got such a bad taste in my mouth. When I heard some of that, I was like, God damn, I got kicked in the nuts again.
Not only that,
Baby
John, when
Daddy.
you get up in the morning and you do that little limp before you can really loosen up, if you're in a Hall of Fame, it kind of it's okay to limp a little bit.
Yeah, well, I've got the limp, so now I just got to get the phone call.
Take us out, Mancini.
Ladies and gentlemen, we will see you for episode number 66 when my brother Perez comes back from a very well-deserved, well-needed vacation. Perez, have a blast. If you need
Thank
anything,
you.
let me know.
Good.
See everybody next in 2 weeks.
All right, guys. Thanks a lot.
Stay safe.
All right, guys. Thank you, Jack Master. Double P, travel safe. The Mario and Chaos Show.